So good morning or good afternoon and welcome back. I want to just bring back part two for my conversation and interview with Samson Hodin. So welcome back. So I wanted to touch on, obviously a big part of your focus is strength training. So why do you feel it is important not just to focus on specific areas of training? And can you give us some examples of how and what you have done for your clients?
Firstly, thank you for having me back. It's morning here in London and it's freezing cold, hence why I've got my jumper on this time.
Yeah.
So strength training is something that's brilliant because it allows you to preserve your lean muscle mass, which is the master of your metabolism, basically. And it's also very attractive in terms of how people's physiques look. So that's something that's motivating for many people.
Yeah.
And another huge factor is somebody who does strength training is far more likely to be flexible, have good cardio, and have good mental health, rather than the other way around. So someone who just does lots of stretching or just does lots of cardio, they're not necessarily going to be very strong at all. They might be very weak, actually. So people who do yoga all the time, they make themselves very mobile, very flexible. They're not necessarily strong.
Yeah.
And people that do lots of cardio, they can actually get really skinny and they can actually overuse the body because the heart is a muscle and the heart needs to then work so hard to keep pumping the blood, and they're just jogging and jogging and jogging and jogging. And the wear and tear for the same calorie burn is much, much greater, because you'd have to do thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of squats, for example. Everyone thinks I'm probably obsessed with squats because I'm always talking about them. But yeah, you'd have to do so many more squats than is recommended by me to even get anywhere near how many repetitions that people are doing when they're running or doing a marathon or doing a triathlon or something. You're talking serious work and stress on the body. So the payoff is far better if you just do 100 really hard squats, which is a hell of a lot. Anyone that's seen my squat challenge videos, they've seen me do 30 heavy squats in one session, and I'm absolutely finished at the end of that. And obviously it's across an hour and a half or a 2-hour session.
Yeah.
But somebody can run for 2 hours and they can get thousands and thousands of repetitions on their joints, and it wears them down. So the whole reason for me emphasizing strength training is that if it's a priority and if you're doing strength training more than cardio, more than stretching, and it's the focal point and the main part of your routine, you're still going to be able to do all the other things in life, and you're going to have that mental health boost as well. Whereas if you're neglecting strength, you're not necessarily going to have a higher quality of life, and you may end up with more wear and tear. So, for example, to put that into practice with my clients, I make sure they're doing some cardio to warm up. I make sure they're mobilizing their joints so they can actually move better. So their risk of injury is lower when they move towards the heavier weights in the training session. And then they can sustain that weightlifting for the majority of the session. And then at the end, they can either leave, or they can do their own thing, or they can walk, or they can stretch if they like. And that ensures that they get the most bang for their buck when they're training with me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So you seem to have a real passion for people and for wanting to gain the best results for your clients. So how do you keep your clients sustaining their health and wellness through your program?
So constant communication. I support them as much as I can. I try to really put myself in their shoes. So I visualize and I've been through what they've been through in 99% of scenarios, and I just need to kind of backtrack myself, take myself back to that part of my journey, get all of the information that I've educated myself with over the years together, and I then use all of that to write their program so it's suited to them perfectly. And what I tend to do is speak to them face to face. I speak to them live. I communicate with them via email, via WhatsApp, whatever they need me to do in terms of communication to understand what they're doing in their first half of the day, what they're doing in the second half of the day, and to tell them what I thought about their execution in the workouts and lots of things like that. On top of all of that, they also need to be doing things on their own, and that means I have to supply them with content that's extremely high quality, extremely clear, motivating, and going to get them to their goals. So I send them whatever's appropriate. I send them as much as possible, live training videos, live documents, and they obviously have access to my social media. They can see how I'm training, so they can compare what they're doing and what they're looking at to what I'm doing. And that seems to work brilliantly for everyone. There hasn't been a single person where it hasn't worked. So that's, pretty cool.
Amazing. So nutrition is a huge part of the overall well-being of an individual. So what do you believe gives you the edge over others in your industry? And then basically to follow on that, there's so much in our food that we think is healthy, which definitely impacts both our mental and physical well-being. So what is unique about your nutrition program? How do you help your clients sustain this as part of their lifestyle and not just a diet, and maintain this long-term, not just for the short term?
Right, let me start with the first point. So what makes me different? Yes. So, I don't think many other trainers and coaches like to study and to delve into the deep, jungle of nutrition like I do. It's easy to say you're passionate about it, but do you really get those studies out? Do you really look at them? Do you really see, are they peer reviewed? What year is it? What animal is used to test it? How are they tested? How long was it done for? What's the name of the scientist? Are they backed by a huge multi-billion-pound company to try and create a message that's maybe been tweaked slightly, and have they manipulated the data? All this kind of thing. So I'm able to locate the most trusted sources. I'm able to analyze it for myself, and then I go on a process of testing it out. So like a healthy sort of guinea pig, I don't do anything really extreme. I don't do like a juice diet or just having honey. I think like Beyonce followed like a honey diet or something. I don't know.
These celebrities are always into something.
It's just like every day there's a new one that comes out, and the problem is it takes you away from the deep and true meaningful scientific studies that are available to people, but they don't know how to find them, and instead they end up looking at the media, and they open up the newspaper and it says coconut oil is good for your skin, or it says butter is terrible for your heart, or something like that, and then they just believe it, and they'll read the article and they'll put it into practice, and they'll tell their friends and things like that, and it just spreads and spreads and spreads, and the problem with that is you end up losing sight of biochemistry and biology at its core.
Yeah.
And people don't understand the periodic table and what sodium is and what magnesium is and all the vitamins and minerals.
Well, they also don't understand the long-term ramifications of the decisions they make.
No. I mean, it's very complicated. So
yeah.
It's confusing, and people end up trying to keep it simple and try to follow what other people do, and they see that they look quite healthy. They have a six-pack maybe, or they have, you know, a nice stomach or a bum or whatever they're interested in, and they look at that person's eating habits and they kind of follow. And most of the time, if they're having a little bit of everything, it tends to work pretty well.
Yes.
But they still don't understand why, and they don't necessarily know how to improve it, or that it could be improved.
Yes.
So what I do, moving then onto how I make sure that my clients are able to sustain and this approach that I teach them, and to get the best results, without boring them, I just educate them. So I teach them that there's a spectrum. So you have fats, you have proteins, you have carbohydrates, and I just go through this spectrum of worst to best, so they understand which ones have more nutrients in them, which ones have more nutrients in them that are bioavailable, i.e. really easy for the body to absorb and use. What's in the middle, so what's okay to have from time to time, and then what's really bad. So, for example, let's take everyone's favorites. I think it's probably carbohydrate. One loves carbohydrate. So, so right at the bottom, you would have processed, you know, like candy and, you know, sweets and stuff like that. Basically zero nutrients, tons of sugar, and
which is the worst.
Like often very toxic substances in there as well. Yeah. And bright colors, and, you know, really addictive. Then you kind of move towards like the wheat and the gluten. So you have like Weetabix and cereals and processed granolas, that kind of thing that people actually have every breakfast. And they've been told it's good for them. It's got fiber and whole grains. And then in the middle somewhere you have, I would say, oats. And then you're starting to get towards fruit. And then you're starting to get towards maybe potatoes and some starches there. Then you get a bit more towards white rice and some honey. And, you know, that's kind of the spectrum. And once they realize what's bad and okay and potentially better, they can then make those choices themselves, and they can then just tell me what they're having. They don't need to count things all the time. So sometimes I'll tell them, look, we need to aim for roughly 2,000 calories a day because you are 6 foot tall and you are quite muscular. You know, you can't be eating less than that. And if you eat too much more than that, then you might put some muscle on, but you might also get fat at the same time. So we have like a target at least, and we focus on protein, but we don't say to each other, oh yeah, so you need to go and weigh that steak that you had. Every time you have it, you've got to put it on the weighing scales. You've got to put that down on a piece of paper. And actually, if it's 210 grams, you've got to cut that 10 grams off and you can't have it. So I don't do all of that with people. They don't get the weighing scales out. You know, if it says it on the packet, it says 200 grams, then just tell me it's 200 grams and I'll say, yeah, that's fine. Maybe try and find a slightly bigger one or a slightly smaller one next time.
Yeah.
And it's no big deal. And people get very obsessed with this whole calorie counting and nutrient tracking. And I guess going back to the first point, because I've done all this studying, I know what foods contain pretty precisely. So I can see straight away, without boring them with the evaluation process that I go through to help them, I can see whether they're having enough vitamin C, enough vitamin D from the sunlight, enough calcium, enough magnesium, enough of what the body can't produce itself.
Yes, of course. So that leads me to the next question. So what is your long-term vision as a personal trainer for your business? Like, what is your ultimate vision?
I think it's quite an exciting vision for me. It's something that I wanted to do for a long time. I wanted to travel. I wanted to travel around the world, and I wanted to have events and to speak to people and to educate them and to show them. Have you ever tried handstanding, or have you ever tried? When was the last time you did a cartwheel, or can you do pull-ups, or whatever? And it doesn't matter if they're 70 years old or 5 years old. Just to have that enthusiasm and willingness to move well and to move more often and to be confident and to know that cooking your own food from scratch is better, and all this kind of stuff. I think if the world just knew a few more truths and didn't get so caught up in what everyone else was doing, then it would be a really powerful message, and I think it would really help us. If there is another pandemic, and all these sort of things that happen, more of the population would be healthier. So the online work that I do now, it's given me that freedom to travel and to explore, and I look forward to not just helping people in similar time zones to me, such as Europe. I'd love to go to over to Australia, see what they're doing, to America, and explore that a bit more.
Amazing. So the health and wellness industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry with so many supplements and nutrition, food replacements. Most people don't really know what they're taking. So what do you advise to your clients when creating programs so that people know what they're putting into their bodies and to get the best results?
Well, firstly, what I'll say is, if you're about to embark on a supplement, or a trainer's told you need to eat this, you need to eat this, you need to eat this, just talk to your physician or talk to your doctor. Just mention it. You don't need to have an appointment necessarily. You don't need to get worried. But for example, someone who's pregnant, or someone who's heavily overweight, or someone that's had certain illnesses, a supplement may be brilliant for them, but it may be really, really damaging. So it's far more likely for someone following a fad diet to end up restricting calories, or worsening their metabolism and depending on drinks and these weight loss shakes and things like that. What I tend to do is I tend to advise people to take things that have been used more for longer and studied for longer. So, for example, whey protein. You can clearly go through all of the bodybuilding sites going back to way before Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're talking at least 40 years of popularity.
Yes.
And the vast majority of people who are going to a gym or trying to lose weight or trying to build muscle, they would have come across protein shakes. So that means that there's been this rise in popularity, and then the media gets involved, and then people realize they can make more money from it, and that has resulted in more scientific studies. So not all of them have been good, well-conducted studies, but there are far more likely to be more well-conducted studies that show the benefits or the negative aspects of that supplement. So whey protein is one of those things, and unless you're really intolerant to lactose, you would be absolutely fine to take that. So I would just make sure that they're able to have as close to 100% whey protein rather than 60% whey protein and then loads of stabilizers and gums and flavorings and all that kind of rubbish added in. As long as they're having 100% or very close to 100% of that product that's been studied, then they should be absolutely fine. Another one is creatine monohydrate. It's a powder, and it's been studied more than whey protein. Actually, I think it's the most studied supplement there is. So more than vitamin D, more than vitamin C, more than whey protein. And these are huge popular supplements as well. So it says a lot that the fact this one's been studied more. And if you notice side effects, if you get loads of spots, talk to your physician, talk to your trainer. Maybe you overdid the dosage, maybe you were doing it incorrectly. And it's just going to be far safer, even if you get it wrong, than a lot of other supplements, such as meal replacement shakes, which they kind of make you think you can just drink your calories and all of that. So that being said, I make sure that my clients are having the safest possible and most effective supplements. You still need to be prioritizing foods that you can chew, foods that your body will be nourished by a lot more because they contain more nutrients in them, and in the most organic form that hasn't been processed.
Yeah, no, that's very insightful. So how do you hold your clients accountable, especially now that one has to work remotely?
Well, they commit to the plan first. So they're in it for 3 months minimum. And that's a huge factor in determining motivation and accountability. They've invested in themselves, they've taken that leap of faith, and they've signed up to 3 months. And amazing things happen in that time. And a lot of people continue for 6 months or 12 months. It all depends on what the person's goal is and where they are. If I'm training a personal trainer, then they probably don't need so much time with me. But if I'm training someone who's never had a personal trainer and is 140 kilograms, 90% body fat, they're going to need some help. So getting them to do that and to lose 50 kilograms of body fat in 3 months is just a stupid idea. So then on top of that, you have obviously the live training. I'm there with them working out, showing them what to do. I'm telling them what to do. And we have check-ins as well all the time, scheduled workouts, scheduled check-ins. They're communicating with me on WhatsApp. They're talking to me. I'm asking them if they need my help all the time. They have all of that live training content so that when I'm not with them, they're able to educate themselves. And that leads to exercise being a part of their life rather than something that they do once they've finished working or once they've finally got 10 minutes free. It's as important as their work life. It's as important as their family life. It's as important as food, because without it, you can't work well. You have no energy. Your relationships break down. Your mental and physical state deteriorates. And it's a really vicious cycle that you can get in that's quite hard to get out of sometimes. So, I just sort of picture myself in their position. What would I want? I would want someone who I can see, who I can talk to. I want someone who responds quickly with clear and effective information. I want someone I can trust. I want someone who clearly looks the part and does what I'm about to do very well, so a role model, and they stick to it. So that says something. And in the past, if they didn't stick to it, I've been doing this for a long, long time, I would tweak it slightly, and that would then improve adherence. And that's all led towards this formula that I've got now to continue to refine it and make it better.
No, that's amazing, because some people, like you said, they could be like, a quarter way through and then lose interest or get too busy. And I think that it's a great thing if you're able to adapt adapt it if you see that they reacting or responding a certain way.
You just need to talk to each other. People used to think of personal training as a service, like they pay me and I do it for them. And the sooner the person, it's crazy how many people think that that's the way it works, and you know, that I'm working for them, and it's not like that. It's a relationship. Like, we're working together, and you know, if we have adjustments along the way, then we need to just work through that, and we need to test things, and we need to evaluate the food situation, and if that's not regular, and if we're not on the same wavelength, then it doesn't work. And people often forget it's personal training. It's not just training. It's not just going onto Google, finding a workout plan, finding a diet, because the information's on the internet, but it's hard to find the right information. How do you know it's the right information? You'd have to test it out, like I've done for years and years and years and years. And that's not possible with 2 children, or, you know, they're 70 years old and they just don't want to, can't be bothered to do that. So, you know, that's why it's my job, and that's what motivates me to be, you know, the best coach, so I can deliver what they need that they don't want to do themselves.
Yes, absolutely. So that leads me to the final question. What are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs, and what legacy or how would you like to be remembered?
Oh wow, that's a big question. Give me a second to think about that. I would say follow your heart. So my passion was in sport, and it doesn't matter what your mum wants you to do. It doesn't matter what your family profession is. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, how old you are, and all of this. You'll know deep down what makes you happy. So I knew it was something to do with food, sleep, or exercise, and it just so happens that I've managed to modify my job so that I'm doing all of those things and teaching all of those things, and that's what really worked for me. And of course, you'll have other hobbies, and you know, I do art and I play music and I listen to music. I love, you know, cultural things and exploring other countries. That's perfectly fine, and that's what I recommend you do as well. But if learning a language or teaching a language is not what you love, then you need to try and find a way of using your passion to further your career. So that's the first one. What else would I recommend? Never quit. Just don't quit. Like, keep searching until you find that thing you love. You know, there'll always be people that say you're wrong, or that's not the good thing to do. But if you know that you're on the right track, and you know that you're doing something that's good, and you just need to kind of keep going with it, and you're being smart and sensible about it, and you're asking people for help, and you've got mentors that you know are wise, that have got experience in that kind of thing that can help you, then that's just going to help you, you know, find the perfect solution and the right way to execute that dream. And the third thing is, let's say, dream big. So don't limit your expectations of yourself, and you'll find that you often grow much more than you thought you would. So don't be that big fish in a small pond. Change your environment, change the people you hang out with if they're limiting you, and just keep growing and keep thinking big, and you'll achieve much more. What was the other part of that question?
What legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
Oof, legacy.
Some people don't like it. Some people prefer to say, I'd like to be remembered for, so I kind of give you the option to decide.
I mean, a big thing for me is to be remembered by people that I've helped. So I don't know if I really want to be, you know, like a celebrity or famous, or have a legacy necessarily, but I mean, I guess a legacy in the way that a lot of people have been touched and have been helped by something I've done. That would be really nice. And just to know that all my hard work has led to something wonderful like that. That's something.
And how you've impacted other people's lives.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that my product is being sold worldwide, all that kind of stuff. I'm not into that. I'm not materialistic. I'm not, egocentric. I just want to help other people become healthy and fit, and to be in the powerful position where they, like I said in part 1, where they know what they want to do, they know how to do it, and they feel good when they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time. And if people want to connect with you, what are the best platforms to do so?
So my Facebook is the place to go. That's where I'm most active. Instagram's something that I'm working on. I'm going to do more videos and stuff. So they might be able to connect with me there as well, and LinkedIn and things like that. But definitely Facebook, and there are all sorts of things that I'm posting on there that they can watch, and they can contact me and sort of have discussions with me, and get involved in training if they like, and if they want to transform within 12 weeks, and they have listened to what I've been talking about and all the questions that you've asked me, and they realize that actually they need to put more of an effort in, or they need to work on strength training a bit more, and doing it on their own is a bit risky or time consuming or energy draining, then every day I'm talking to people that are encountering those problems, and then once they embark on the 3-month course, then we rectify that and we work together, and they completely flip things upside down, and they then end up living a much better life. So Facebook definitely is the one to go to for now, but keep an eye out on my Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Thank you so much, and hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where you are in your journey. But thanks for your time.
Thank you, it's been fun.